It is week 11 of the college football season. Our 6 favorite picks are on the way. It's Austin joined by Logan. Let's recap last week. We were so dang close to getting the sweep. Let's talk about it. I went 2-1. My one loss was Anthony Gould's over in receiving yards. I think he ended with 37, but I cashed Alabama, cashed Penn State. And Logan, you delivered a lossless day. I mean, your only push was Ole Miss -3. They ended up winning by 3 on the dot. Kansas State, they came back in crazy fashion, covering in overtime. And then that USC Washington over, I thought that was a first half line. You told me that was a full game line? No, they absolutely smoked 76.5. A ridiculous game of no defense. But Logan, I'm going to let you off. You've been doing pretty well the last couple of weeks in college football. On a little bit of a good run. I'm going to let you lead things off. First pick for Saturday, where's it going to be?
For my first pick, I'm going out to a really big game this weekend, and I'm taking Penn State plus 5.5, -110 odds on Caesars, currently your best value here. Now, Michigan, heading into a very hostile environment in Happy Valley, trying to beat a ranked team for the first time this year. Say what you want, I just don't think Michigan's competition has been really that high this year. This should be their first real test of the year. This year, the Nittany Lions also have the nation's 4th best run defense by yards per game and 2nd in passing yards, only allowing 135.88 passing yards per game. Last week, they held Maryland to an FBS 2nd lowest rushing total in history at -49 yards. Yeah, college football stats are weird. You can get into the negatives like that. But I really think the recipe is there for Penn State to cover. They play a very ferocious defense. They play ball control offense. And that's kind of how you cover a 5.5 point spread. I want those points in my back pocket. Even they could win this game outright, but on the off chance they're like Kansas State, I do want those points. Penn State's defense comes in at 3rd nationally, giving up only 11.5 points per game and 2nd in yards per play allowed, only 4 yards per play. This is a really good defense, statistically and in the eyeball test. They keep them in games. We look at like the test when they were on the road in Ohio State. The reason why they had a chance in that game was because their defense was playing lights out. Their offense just couldn't do anything. I think we see a very similar type game where their defense just keeps them hanging around. And the question is, can Penn State's offense be good enough? Penn State leads the nation in not shooting themselves in the foot with a turnover margin of +16. Offensively, the Nittany Lions 11th in scoring, 38.88 points per game. You have 119 plays of 10 plus yards, converting 42.2% of third downs. This is an offense that, yes, they're up and down. They're not all that consistent, but I kind of like what we've seen recently from Drew Allar. We saw in that Ohio State game, it looked like the moment was too big for him. He missed a lot of throws. The receivers just weren't getting open. He finally came out of his shell in that Indiana game and then exploded against Maryland. I expect him to take another big step in this one. I expect him to be ready for the moment. Look, guys, Jim Harbaugh, on the road, big time game. I'm not trusting Michigan at all. I'm taking Penn State, who I still think, can go blow for blow with Michigan. I think, they're getting, honestly, I think Penn State's getting too many points as well. I think this should be like a 3-point spread. The fact that we're getting 5.5, I'll go ahead and take that any day of the week. I think Penn State is a live underdog, and I think at bare minimum they covered the spread for us. So I'm taking the Nittany Lions as my first pick. But Austin, where are you going for your first pick?
Yeah, Logan, I love the pick. I would have taken the Nittany Lions if you weren't already on them. I think that's a very good, if maybe people are never bet college football before, I think that's a good teaser leg if you ever want it. You want to be a little safer. I really don't see them losing by more than a touchdown. It will be pain if they lose by a touchdown on the dot where you got 5.5, lose by 6 or 7. But I really like the Nittany Lions. They've been a really good team at home, and I think they'll show that. But for my pick, I'm going to a big time game. I mean, a battle of top 10 ranked teams, Georgia versus Ole Miss. And I'm taking Georgia, the Bulldogs, -10.5 at home. It's currently -110 on FanDuel. Look, back in UGA at home, never a terrible idea. I mean, it's one of the best college football teams in the nation. There's a reason, they're up at the top of the rankings almost every single year the past couple of years. And I think they're going to have a great game plan for this Ole Miss offense. And I think that's what it comes down to. Can this Ole Miss offense perform against the UGA defense? I don't think they can. I think it's going to be a tough spot for them. And Ole Miss is no slouch. You're not coming in here and saying, hey, they're going to beat up on a bad team. Ole Miss is the 9th ranked team in the nation. They're 8-1. but they're getting nearly 11 points on the road. And I think it's for a good reason that they're big time underdogs. We've only seen them lose one game this season. It was also on the road. They lost it to Alabama by 2 touchdowns. Their offense only scored 10 points in that game. And I really think Georgia's a much better team than Alabama was at that stage in the season. And I think that Georgia's going to come out here and just steamroll them. And you look at last week, actually, Georgia did not steamroll Missouri. They actually struggled a little bit in that game. Only won that game by 9 points against the Missouri Tigers. The Tigers ran for 150 yards versus UGA. That is unheard of to see teams do that against the Georgia Bulldogs defense and that front line. I think their defense has been absolutely attacked in the film room all week, being like, yo, we can't be giving up 100+ yards to a single guy. I think they'll come out here and stifle that Ole Miss rushing attack, and I think they're going to force Jackson Dart, the Ole Miss quarterback, to beat them, and I think I'll live with that against this Georgia secondary. They'll be able to make some timely plays, and I think that's what's the difference, because I don't think Ole Miss's defense is honestly all that good. They give up a lot of points, just gave up 35 to Texas A&M offense that has been all hit or miss all season long. On the road, I think the Rebels are in for a tough game. If you're a Rebels fan, probably don't want to watch this one. I think Georgia steamrolls them. I'll take the 10.5. I think they win this game by 2, at least 2 touchdowns, maybe even 3. I think they smoke the Ole Miss Rebels. I think this is a one-sided battle in this one. I mean, if Ole Miss keeps it close, whatever, but I just think Georgia's the much better team on both sides of the football. I think they own the time of possession, control the line of scrimmage on both sides, and I think that's what's the difference here. Give me Georgia minus 10.5 for my first pick. But Logan, where's your second pick going to be?
Yeah, I'm going to a double-digit spread as well in my second pick. I'm taking Liberty minus 13.5, minus 110 odds on BetMGM. Currently, your best value there. Now we've got quarterback Caden Salter. He's a guy we've already backed this year. We've backed Liberty before, and they treated us nicely. Hopefully, they can win and cover for us this week. I mentioned Caden Salter, tied for 6th nationally in passing touchdowns at 23, 3rd in passing efficiency, 4th in yards per passing attempt, paired with Quentin Cooley. This offense is averaging 37 points per game. That's 14th in the FBS. This is an offense that I do want to back. And even though it is a high number, even though it is a little bit chalky, I'll go ahead and take a shot with Liberty. They're one of those wagons that I just want to, I want to ride them, and I want to see if they can get it done for us today. Liberty's running game has been rolling as well. They can do it in the air. They can do it on the ground. The Flames rank number 2 nationally in rushing offense, and are coming off 3 straight 300+ yard performances. Old Dominion's defense allowing 131 rushing yards per game, 241 passing yards per game, 110th in the nation there. They also give up 26 points per game. That's 72nd in the FBS. This is not all that good of an Old Dominion defense. Really, if they're trailing in this one, it could get ugly early. An offense that isn't all that good for Old Dominion. Playing catch up is not the name of the game for them. They've been sacked the most in college football this season, averaging more than 5 sacks allowed per game. So Liberty's pass rush, if they can generate any sort of pass rush and pressure, Old Dominion's offensive line has not showed the ability to really hold up this year. The 2 quarterbacks also for Old Dominion have thrown for a combined 8 interceptions. Liberty is number 1 in the nation at interceptions, grabbing at least 2 picks per game, and number 2 in total turnovers on defense. So a good Liberty defense that can make life difficult for Old Dominion. I think this number is pretty high. I mean, we're laying 2 touchdowns with Liberty, but I think it's high for a reason. And I'm going to go ahead and take the Liberty Flames. I think they're an absolute wagon, and I think they dispose of Old Dominion pretty quickly for my second pick. But Austin, where are you going for your second one?
I'm going to a team that was unbeaten, just like the Liberty Flames were last week. But this is a different team in the Air Force Falcons that did lose last week, taking them minus 18.5. Now, if you're like, Austin, I need to get this pick in early. Well, don't worry. The game's at 11 p.m. Eastern time. The latest game on the slate as they go into Hawaii to take on the Rainbow Warriors. But let's talk about Air Force. Last week, if you were an Air Force fan, anything that could have gone wrong did go wrong. That team, every bad break went against them. You look at them, 6 turnovers, 2 interceptions, 4 fumbles. Like I said, the ball just was not bouncing their way. Obviously, the 4 fumbles are something you can try to manage, and the interceptions too. This was a team that really didn't turn over the ball prior to that game. Everything went wrong, and they lost by 20 to Army. Obviously, a team that always plays them tough. But I like them to bounce back here in a good spot against the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors, who, let's be honest, the Rainbow Warriors are not good. They're 3-7. And this is a team that just stinks. They're just not good. They've played, if you look at these 2 teams, they obviously have not played this season. It's college football, but they have played 2 common opponents, San Jose State and San Diego State. Now you look at Hawaii, they lost to both of those teams, to San Diego State by 7, San Jose State by 35. Air Force not only beat those teams, beat them by 25 and 39. This is just a game where a Rainbow Warriors defense that allows over 5 yards per carry. I think the worst in college football is UMass at like 5.7 or 5.9. They can't stop the run, and this is an Air Force team that they don't want to pass the ball. They want to run the football. I really find it tough to believe that the Rainbow Warriors defense stands up here and stands tall and stops them. I think we're going to see a lot of 7-yard carries every single time, own the time of possession. I think they absolutely destroy the Rainbow Warriors. This is an Air Force team that sure they lost last week by 20 points. Their defense played pretty well given that they had 6 turnovers, putting them in bad spots. So I really do think the Air Force Falcons bounce back. It's a simple play, simple analysis. Air Force minus 18.5. They should win this game by 3 touchdowns against a very bad Hawaii team. Let's just hope they don't have 6 turnovers this week, and they should easily clear this one. Just own the time of possession, run it down Hawaii's throats, and I think this is a easy bounce back victory for the Air Force Falcons. I'll take them minus 18.5, second pick of the weekend. But Logan, wrap it up. Third pick. Who are you going with?
Yeah, I liked your last pick. You kept it simple, and I'm keeping it simple as well. I'm going to a Big Ten showdown where I'm taking the under. Northwestern, Wisconsin. Give me the under 42.5 total points, minus 110 odds on FanDuel there. Now, we've got Wisconsin coming in on a 2-game losing streak, and Luke Fickell could be without leading rusher Braylon Allen and Chamir Dyke for the second straight game. They're banged up. This is a banged up offense for Wisconsin. Why would we take an over between these two teams? I really don't know. This game just absolutely screams under. So we're going to go ahead and not overthink it. Disappointing would be an understatement too for Wisconsin's offense this season, with backup quarterback and a litany of other injuries on the offensive end. They're 86th in scoring, 84th in passing yards. You told me at the beginning of the season this Wisconsin offense was going to be that bad. I would be like, wow, that's pretty shocking, because they definitely have not lived up to the hype of Luke Fickell's first year there, but they'll be better. They're just not good this year at all. And then on the other side, you've got Northwestern coming off a 10-7 loss to Iowa. They couldn't set that total low enough, and have been without their starting quarterback as well. They're banged up offensively too. If the Badgers' offense is bad, then Northwestern's offense is like somehow even exponentially worse, because they're bottom 5 in the entire country in terms of total offense. Northwestern sits at 126th in yards per game, 107th in total score per game, 104th in passing, and finally 122nd in rushing yards, not even putting up 100 rushing yards per game. You see, guys, I mean, the stats tell you everything you need to know. You've got a terrible offense. You've got a really disappointing offense. You gotta go the under in this one. I am really keeping it short and simple. In Big Ten games like this, usually the defenses dominate. That's why you get the people wearing the, I'm just here for the punter t-shirts in these Big Ten games. Because, I mean, it is what it is. Like, that's why the total is set, in the low 40s like this. It's surprisingly, not in the 20s, but I really do like it. And to get over this total anyway, just think about it from a math point of view. You need some touchdowns rather than field goals. And I have no confidence in either of these teams' red zone offense to be able to, get those consistent touchdowns rather than settling for 3. Because you know what? When we got an under, we take field goals all day long. And I do think between these two teams, we're going to see a lot of field goals and a lot of stalled red zone possessions. So that's my third and final pick. But Austin, where are you finishing up at?
Logan, honestly, both those teams getting to the red zone is going to be a tough enough task in itself. And I want to take another under with you. And I was looking at that Rutgers-Iowa one at 28.5. That is comically low. I mean, I'm not saying I take the over, but man, that Rutgers one at Iowa is just crazy. But for my third and final pick, I normally do a player prop here. Going to pivot, going to go to another spread. Kind of found a little bit of a cold stretch in player prop. So we're just going to go to another spread, something we did really well last week. Let's talk about the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers, my final pick of the weekend. Minus 4.5, minus 108 on DraftKings. Now, Western Kentucky enters this game, and you look at the records of these two teams, you actually see Western Kentucky has the worst record. They're only 5-4 compared to New Mexico State, who's 7-3. However, that 7-3 record will not matter on Saturday when they get absolutely smoked on the road, because I really think New Mexico State is a fraud team. This is a team that has won 5 straight. You look at the competition. FIU, Sam Houston, UTEP, Louisiana Tech, and MTSU. All 5 teams that stink. When they played them at the time of playing, they were like 2-6 each of those teams. These teams are just not good. And New Mexico State did what they had to do. They got the job done, won those games, but now they go on the road against a very good Western Kentucky team. And I think they're going to have their hands full against this offense, especially led by quarterback Austin Reed. Great first name, 21 touchdowns this season, though, 6 interceptions. It's actually coming off not a great game last week at UTEP. They only put up 21 points. Austin Reed only threw for 100 yards and a touchdown and an interception. Got the ground game going, but nothing else was really going. I expect them to bounce back at home. It's just been a very good home team this season. They're actually coming off a home team loss. They lost last time they were at home against Logan's second pick against Liberty. Liberty beat them. Liberty's obviously been very, very good this season. I don't see them losing back-to-back games at home. I think they win this one by easily over a touchdown. And this is an offense that we've seen put up 30-plus points pretty easily. Last week, a down week for them, but they have enough tools in the shed to go out there and beat a New Mexico State team that I don't think is worthy of a 7-3 record. So I think it's going to show what team is the better one. I think this Austin Reed-led team and offense goes out there and destroys New Mexico State. Destroy might be a strong word. We only need them to beat them by 5, which I certainly think they can get that done. So Western Kentucky -4.5, my third and final pick of the weekend. Let's go 6-0 and dominate college football this week. We got 6 spread picks. Well, what 5 spreads, 1 team, 1 total. I really like the card we cooked up for you. Let's have another winning week, and let's hopefully try to get that 6-0 sweep, and let's have a day. We'll see you guys back again in other videos. I'll link some other ones on the screen. Definitely go check them out. Appreciate all your love and support. Austin Logan, we're signing out. We'll see you guys back in the next one. Peace.